All right, let's dive into a super important topic for your GCSE computer science exam, network security. We're going straight to the OCR spec, section 1.4.2, which is all about how to spot and stop digital threats. My goal here is to get you feeling confident and ready to absolutely nail those questions.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll get to know the cyber battlefield, the threats we're actually up against. Then, we'll look at how to build your digital fortress, why the human factor is so crucial, and finally, we'll cover proactive defenses. Basically, everything you need. So let's get into it.
Okay, before you can even think about defending yourself, you've got to know who the enemy is, right? So we're going to do a quick recap of the main threats from section 1.4.1. Trust me, understanding the attack is always the first step to stopping it.
First up, we have malware. Now, this is kind of an umbrella term for all the nasty software out there. We're talking about viruses, spyware that can watch everything you do, even ransomware that literally holds your files hostage. The goal is always the same: cause disruption, steal your stuff, or just take over your system. It's like a digital saboteur, just waiting to cause chaos from the inside.
Then you've got phishing. And this one is really sneaky because it doesn't attack your computer, it attacks you. It's a total con game. An attacker pretends to be someone you trust, maybe your bank or a service you use, and they send you a message trying to trick you into just handing over your passwords or bank details. It's a digital hook, and you are the fish.
And then there's the brute force attack. The name really says it all. This isn't about being clever. It's about raw, overwhelming power. It's just automated software trying millions, sometimes billions, of password combinations until, boom, one of them works. This is exactly why using password 123 is one of the worst ideas ever.
So, you've got all these different threats coming at you from all angles. The big question is, how on earth do we fight back? Well, this is what section 1.4.2 is all about. It's time to stop just thinking about threats and start talking about the prevention methods that will stop these attacks dead in their tracks.
So our first line of defense is always going to be software. Let's look at the digital tools that basically act as our 24/7 guardians, protecting our systems from the bad guys.
Right at the main gate of your network, you've got the firewall. The best way to think about it is like a really strict bouncer at a club. It checks the ID of every single piece of data trying to get in or out, and based on a list of rules, it decides who's allowed in and who gets kicked out. It is your network's most important checkpoint, period.
Okay, now really pay attention to this slide because this highlights a key difference that examiners absolutely love to test you on. A firewall is proactive. It's the guard at the gate stopping trouble from ever getting inside. Anti-malware, on the other hand, is reactive. It's the patrol inside the walls, hunting for anything dodgy that might have snuck past. They do two totally different jobs, and any secure system needs both.
But what about protecting the data itself? Well, even if a hacker manages to get past your defenses, encryption is your secret weapon. It basically scrambles your important data into a completely unreadable jumble of characters. Without the special decryption key, that stolen information is completely useless. It's just gibberish. Think of it like a secret code that only you and the recipient know how to read.
You can have the best, most expensive software in the entire world, but it can't protect you if a user makes a simple mistake. That's why we have to talk about the human factor. So often, the biggest vulnerability isn't in the code, it's the person sitting at the keyboard. Let's look at how we can strengthen that weak link. It nearly always starts with passwords. They're basically the keys to our entire digital lives, right? They're the most common way we prove who we are online, which means they are constantly being attacked. And as we saw with brute force attacks, a weak key is pretty much the same as having no key at all.
So what actually makes a password strong enough to stand up to something like a brute force attack? Well, it's not just one thing, it's a combination. You need length, you need a mix of different character types, and it has to be unpredictable. Every single one of those elements you add makes it exponentially harder to crack, turning a job that might take minutes into one that could take thousands of years.
Okay, this concept is massive for any organization. It's called the principle of least privilege. And all it means is that people should only have access to the stuff they absolutely need to do their job, nothing more. So, for example, a librarian doesn't need to see student medical records. This approach basically puts walls up inside the system, so if one person's account gets hacked, the damage is contained to just that small area.
All right, let's switch gears and get a bit more proactive. How can we actively go out and test our defenses to see if they work? And what about the security that exists in the real physical world? That's something people often forget.
I mean, how do you know if your security is actually any good? You have to test it. That's where penetration testing, or pen testing, comes in. You literally hire an ethical hacker to launch a simulated attack against your own system. Their job is to find all the holes and weak spots before a real criminal does.
And finally, we absolutely cannot forget that all this digital data lives on physical machines in the real world. Your network is only as secure as the room the servers are in. Physical security, we're talking locked doors, CCTV, maybe even security guards, is what stops someone from just walking in, unplugging a server, and walking out with all of your precious data.
Okay, we've gone through all the essential prevention methods from the OCR spec. Now for the most important part. How do you take all this knowledge and turn it into marks on your exam paper? Let's connect all the dots.
Honestly, this slide right here is revision gold. In your exam, they're going to ask you to link a specific threat to a specific way of preventing it. If you see the words brute force attack, your brain should immediately think strong passwords. If the question is about stopping data being stolen while it's in transit, encryption should be the first word you write down. Making these direct connections is exactly what the examiners are looking for.
So let's end with this exam-style challenge. A small business is worried about data theft. How would you help them? Go on, pause and have a think. You need to pick out two different methods we've covered, something like user access levels and encryption, and then, this is the crucial part, you have to explain how each one would actually help solve their problem. That skill, the explanation, is the key to acing this topic. Good luck with the revision.